All right, so here we go again. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm in a band called Bo Scurvy and the Hounds. We've come up with some pretty great songs. I have a ton of fun getting to play. The thing about Tucson is that it's not conducive for any band aside from country or like heavy metal screamo type bands to really thrive. Apparently, it didn't used to be that way. We've talked to a lot of other artists, and this used to be an incredible city for music, and it's gotten just worse over the years. Um, Also, Tucson, Arizona is way south in the state. It's 2 hours from Phoenix, which is better for music, but still not great. And 6 hours to San Diego, 8 hours to LA. Like it's a long ways to anything. But you can't just go there, play, come back. That's not a possibility. Um, so we've been dealing with this. We've been trying to progress as much as we possibly can, and just things have happened. We've gotten a little bit of notoriety, but nothing to the level of what we think that we're capable of. So Bo's wife had recently joined the military. She was craving a challenge, and Bo is a veteran as well of the Air Force, and so she decided to join the Navy. They discussed about what base that she should go to, and they talked about having her go to um, somewhere along the East Coast, preferably, because she could end up in San Diego or LA. But even those cities are active when it comes to music and that kind of thing, but they too are very far from a lot of other things. East Coast is so compact. You're depending on where you are, you can drive a couple hours to one major city, then another couple hours to another major city, and so on and so forth. It's just so close. She ended up in the Virginia Beach area, and Bo has since moved. So the music stuff is over currently, right? No, it's not over. That's the whole point. Is that right now in Tucson, it's over because he's not here. I am, and I'm not there. So we're unable to really do anything at this point. But the whole plan is that soon I'm going to be joining him out on the East Coast. Now, when it comes to that, there's good and bad. When the initial plan had come to our attention, we don't know anyone in the East Coast really. Um, there's no city that necessarily comes to mind that's close or super active to anything that we were 100% sure that we wanted to do or knew anyone and that kind of thing. So it was a little worrisome. But then Bo told me you don't have to be in Virginia Beach. As long as you're in a state along the East Coast or in the East Coast area, then we can meet up and still be able to tour. And we hope to be able to tour once every quarter, once every like 3-4 months kind of thing. For, at least a couple weeks, if not like a month at a time. The problem with that, if I was doing that, he has a wife who's making some great money right now, and she's working a lot, and she's working very hard, and she's doing amazing. And he has a little bit of ability of not needing to worry as much when it comes to financial things. My girlfriend and I are not in that position. And I would have to have a job, a regular paying day job to keep constant flow of money so that we could stay afloat somewhere else in a place where we don't have any support. No one to stay with at all. Rent free kind of scenario. We don't have that. So I have to have a job. So when we were looking at the idea of moving out east and no longer necessarily in the Virginia area per se, my mind immediately went to Atlanta. For those of you who don't know, Atlanta is a hub nowadays for film. Pretty much every single Marvel film is done out there, at least to some extent. The recent Jurassic Park movies, The Walking Dead is completely filmed out there. A lot is done out there. There's a lot of stunt work. There's a lot of acting work, and there's a lot of crew work as well. Basically, Atlanta is crazy busy when it comes to film, but with 10% of the competition as what you find out in LA. More than the idea of wanting to pursue more film work, it just made the most sense that I continue to pursue something like that because most of that stuff is freelance. You know, you get a job, but you only have it for a certain amount of time because a film only happens for a certain amount of time. You know, you're working on a production that may last a month or two, and then you're on to the next project, and you're doing that for a week, and then you're doing another one for a couple days, and then you get another one that's another month. It's sporadic and it's a headache trying to find that work. But how else could I have a regular job? How else could I have a job where I go in, I interview, I get the job, I'm working for a month, and I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, I have this band, and we're working on trying to really make something happen, which means I'm going to be going on tour soon. In fact, I'm going to be leaving next month for about a month. So I was just making sure that it was okay that even though I'm brand new, that I could leave for an entire month and come back and my position would still be here. No? Okay. I figured not. Thanks. That would be the scenario that I would constantly be dealing with. So unfortunately, film is kind of it. I say unfortunately, but that's just because it doesn't leave many options. But luckily, it is a life that I've trained for and really want. But there is so much up in the air. I have a good friend that I have out in LA. I've been so busy since I talked to her last that I haven't been able to get my information to her yet. But she has a friend that works for Marvel. I don't know what this friend does. I don't know how connected they are or the possibility of me necessarily getting a job specifically with them, but it's something. It's a lead. And even if I can get there and have some bit of work, even if it's a couple times a week for a couple hours, you know, that's some pay. And it's something. And I've always been someone who's made really good impressions on film sets because I get there early. I'm easy to get along with. I work hard. I know what I'm doing. So all I can hope for is that when the move does happen, and we're looking at about February, not only am I able to find at least semi-steady work, but also what's important is that Jessie is comfortable. I want her to have the kind of jobs that she really cares and wants to do. I'm not the type of selfish person that's gonna constantly be pursuing my dreams and goals and expect her to pick up my slack while I'm doing that. But there's so much up in the air, and we're already behind. So when we get there, we're gonna be making contact with Bo immediately and hoping that we'll have something going on the moment that we step foot in Georgia. I hate doing things that are not guaranteed, but that's part of how life works. Nothing is really guaranteed. Even when you think that things are guaranteed, doesn't necessarily mean that they are. So all we can do is be smart, continue to be there for one another, love each other, work really hard to make everything that we pursue a success. Those who may be watching this years in the future might know how this all turned out. Things are going really well. Who knows? We may be living very comfortably, starting up our family. That's the hope. All we can do is continue to plan, try to make things work, see what happens. Anyway, signing off.